Welcome to Toffee TV. It is the final word. Watford 0, Everton 0. A highly frustrating evening at Vicarage Road, where Everton, well, we got a point, but it just feels massively like 2 points dropped just because of the circumstances and also where those extra 2 points would have took us. It just feels so frustrating. But here we are. We're 2 points clear of the two teams below us. And the future's in our hands, regardless. But it was a frustrating night, wasn't it, Baz?
Yeah, it was. It was frustrating, and like you say, it's where it would have took us is the thing that you can't help look at. You know, by the time the game Everton kicked off, Leeds were already behind. You know, and then 15 minutes into our game, Leeds were down to 10 men and all that, and you start thinking if we can get the win, puts us 4 points ahead of them with 2 games to go. You know, it's touching distance. And the game itself was frustrating. There's no point saying anything different. Everton were below par in the final third, really. Yeah. And what I mean by that is to be just sluggish in the final third, make the wrong decision and stuff. But I've said before, I think said it on social media, if you'd have offered me 4 points on Sunday morning out the 2 away games, I'd have took it, because it's like you've just said, it was still in our hands. We've got 2 home games to come. And we finished the night better off than we started it. We got an extra point on Burnley and Leeds. So.
Yeah, we obviously, listen, we went out with the basically the same team. Obviously, we knew Keane would be coming in for Yerry Mina. Obviously, they did have lots of changes in their team. A lot of freshness as well. But obviously, it's a team that had been relegated. It was a weird night because it was it was only 20,000 there. Big pockets of the ground, they were empty. The atmosphere was subdued on their half. It didn't feel like it felt like it meant everything to us, but very little for them. And that put the emphasis on us, didn't it, to go out there and listen. They had a bright start. They had a couple of opportunities in and around the box, but then it calmed down. And I just saw our centre-back starting to pass it round between them, and I just thought, oh, this is going to be a long night, this. Because there was no intensity. It was up to us to bring the intensity. And I thought with obviously playing on Sunday, you could start to see players quite early on looked a little bit tired, a little bit off it, didn't have the intensity. And we were sort of in between a rock and a hard place there, because in the last few games, that intensity, going up against somebody who wanted to win the game, as drove us on, creating those opportunities, pressing high to defend, and then using that. Whereas the other night, last night, we had to create the chances ourselves, and it just felt like we just didn't have the energy to do that last night. And you know, as you just said there, that most of the team were fine because they didn't really have to do much. The back lad didn't have to do anything. Midfield just had to win their own battles, which they did quite comfortably. And then it was up to those forward players. And I just never felt, apart from little pockets, that they really had the energy, maybe the belief to sustain that pressure to wear Watford down.
Yeah, I mean, so it's a lot of it's mental fatigue, isn't it? Because it's decision making when you're in the final third, whether that was Damari Gray, Anthony Gordon, or Richarlison. And again, last night was evidence with Richarlison that for me, he's better wide. I think he was up against two big, strong centre-backs. He's not one to play with his back to goal. Yeah. He wants to be running at you with the ball. And it's difficult to get your striker on the turn, running at players. You know, it's got to be counter-attack wise. And he had one goal in the first half, and he picked the ball up and ran at like 3 or 4 of them. Sissoko got back and put a tackle in, and then another time he done it, he won a free kick. But those moments were few and far between, and he's just, when he's on the periphery of the game.
Yeah. And what was evidence about both of those opportunities was there was no one really going past, no one offering him an extra man. He felt like it was him against everyone else, and everybody else was using it as an opportunity to take a breather.
Yeah.
And I think with what the Watford side, with the side they put out, we had to sustain the pressure. There had to be constant. A better team, a fresher team out there would have done some serious damage to that Watford team last night. But we just didn't have that energy, and also that, I don't want to say belief, but obviously you're trying to be cautious. You don't want to lose the game. Everton's away record is horrendous. You know, we've still only won 2 games, so you've got to be lot of players last night would have had that in the back of the mind thinking, just don't lose this game. You know, we get something out of this game and we can take in those two. And that might have been in the 2 games, that might have been where the manager was focused, and that for me just sort of stopped us having that little extra bit of, you know, not being gung-ho, but a better side last night would have gone, these won't hurt us. But with us, I still think we're a little bit cautious, especially having to play a more expansive game, which last night was that eye-opener where, don't forget who we are. We are not a great side. When we're asked to open teams up who don't want to be opened up, we do struggle.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, like a lot of teams, so we went to Anfield and played a game where we sat in, and Liverpool struggled to break it down, even with their top players, and you'll see it at other, you know, Spurs have just done it to Liverpool, other teams will do it and frustrate some top sides. But you're right, we've lost all our creativity, you know, and we lost James Rodriguez, you know, we lost Sigurdsson, we've lost Luca Dean, who were our chief creators last season, so then Luca Dean till halfway through this season, so they've gone out the side, and while other people have done good jobs, you know, like Michalenko's playing really well and all that, it's not quite at that level yet of creating opportunities. And in midfield, we're very workmanlike with Delph and Decore. And so the emphasis is on 2 lads who have been big pluses for us this season. You know, Damari Gray, 1.5 million come in, and there was a bit of negativity around the move when we got him, because it was, I think people wanted better. And yet he's had a good season. I think he's got 7 goals or 6 goals, whatever. He's had a good season, but he's just tailed off of late. Looks knackered, if I'm being honest. And Andy Gordon has been a real bonus, how much he's come on to go from a lad who was talked about going on loan this season to being one of the first names on the team sheet because of the effort and the work rate he puts in. Both final balls have let them down, and I think just relying on them week after week after week isn't going to work, and we just looked a little bit tired, I think, and so naturally caution comes into it then when you're tired. It's the thing what perhaps if we'd have done it most of the season, our away record wouldn't be as bad as what it is. If we'd have just dropped back in and gone, well, don't lose, then let's make sure we're in shape. It's frustrating because, like I said, to get to where we want to be, you were looking at that game going, we beat these, we'll be in a great position, but it wasn't to be. And the opportunities we made early on, we didn't take the most of. We had the Alex Iwobi one, which we'll put on screen now, which was Richarlison done brilliantly, but Iwobi actually starts the move and he wins the ball back in our half and plays it into Richarlison and makes the run, and Richarlison plays a great ball and he's running in on goal, and just got the arrow here where I think he should just shoot across Ben Foster to that far corner, because if you look, there's no Everton player in sight there as he's in the box again. And so if he just has the shot across Foster, if Foster saves it, sound. But he doesn't. He slows down and tries to wait for the support, and eventually we get people up with them, and then the pass is poor and it's blocked and goes out for a corner. And then following that, we had a brilliant bit of play by Anthony Gordon on the wing, and he gets in and he goes round the back, and what he does is he runs into the box and there's opportunity to throw the ball in early. But he hesitates, and then even when he's hesitated, I've done the arrow here, which is the pass, which is the cut back to Richarlison, who's on his own on the penalty spot. If he just plays that behind the defender, Richarlison's got a clear shot at goal, and he doesn't. He hesitates again, and then tries to put it across, and they get a blocking. And it's just that decision-making in that final third. I know we were talking about Gray, and I've used Iwobi there. Iwobi, just because it was a good opportunity for him to get a shot away, but Anthony Gordon and Damari Gray, when we did get in those areas, that final ball into the penalty area just wasn't what it should be, and those 2 moments came and went.
Gray and Gordon were wasteful all night, weren't they? They were that final ball every time was just from both of them, or the decision making, and obviously fatigue has a big part of that. Especially the way we've been playing recently, you are looking at those 2 players as the people to get you in those positions. I mean, as you mentioned, that Gordon chance, he does that from a brilliant piece of skill, and this is indicative of both of them in the last few weeks. They've both been working very, very hard for the team, but that's indicative of nice little bit of skill to get them clear. You saw Gordon do this at the weekend as well. But then when you get in the box and you're faced with that ultimate challenge of which ball do I play, both of them just seem to be massively lacking. Gray, isn't getting, the shooting isn't getting it out of his feet quick enough, and then the opportunity's gone. Gordon has opportunities, you know, in the final third to pull it back or start hitting an area. And I think this is where Gordon, as a player, has got to start getting better of having an end ball where at least the strikers know where it's going to be. Do you know what I mean? Whether it's get into the box and just keep putting it in the same area, and then it's down to you, or just having that little bit of composure, or just, as I said, the one with putting the ball in the same area is good because it takes the needs for that thinking. It's muscle memory. Get that done on the training ground. But it is, and that, as I said, it can be caused with fatigue, just slow. You know, you've got too many opportunities. But that's why I think we've got to get better at just saying to the wingers, put it in an area, or the fullbacks, put it in an area, and tell our men to be in that area. But when you look at that, still, there's a lot of men in and around the box, and it's almost like there's too many people for them to pick one out. And let's just look at the little stats we've got here of Gordon and Gray. You know, you look at Gray's dribbles there. You know,
didn't attempt any.
Lost possession 17 times, Gordon 60 times. That's going to happen, of course. It's going to happen. The crosses. Look at the crosses. You know, that's to me.
I mean, Gray's 40% though. That's probably what wingers are in terms of finding it. Anthony Gordon's just got to. I mean, that's got to be way better. But then the shots on target.
But even the shots on target. Why aren't you having more shots? You know, 1 shot from Gordon, 3 from Gray. Why aren't you having more shots? Why aren't we Why aren't these two players are attacking force at the moment while we're having wing backs? These two are the ones who are supposed to be giving us that extra. And last night, listen, whether it be down to fatigue or loss of form or whatever, it's just, you know. But if one of them's off, the other one's got to be on. It's just the way it is.
Yeah,
and set pieces, they let themselves both down on set pieces as well.
I think it is difficult because neither of them are. I mean, Anthony Gordon's at the very start of his journey, and he's been fantastic this season. He's such a hard worker. He's got to improve. He'll know that, and I imagine work will take place on the training ground about that, putting it into areas. And I think it's what a lot of time it's what the best players do anyway. They put it into an area. If you look at like De Bruyne, who's just unbelievable again last night, wasn't he? He often just puts a ball into an area, and City know to get in there. And that the assist today, you see Trent Alexander-Arnold and Andy Robertson at Liverpool, they put balls into the area, into those zones, and people run into it. And it was what Leighton Baines used to do, and Coleman when he was flying was stable. They get wide, just put it into areas, and you know you can get into
penalty
those
spot.
zones. That's it, isn't it? You know to make the run. So I think that's what Gordon, and I've got more faith in Gordon doing it than Gray, because Gray does seem to be someone who likes to run and get a shot away. But if they're your outlets, if you look at the top teams, their 2 wide players who are wide strikers get 15, 18 goals.
And the thing about it is,
are amazing. Cities are amazing.
They're both getting in really good areas as well. They were saying anyway last night, they're both getting in really good areas to affect the game. Like, so that side of the game.
I mean, Gray's got 6 goals, I think, hasn't he? Gordon's got 4. Yeah. It's not terrible, but and that's fine if they're wingers playing in playing in wide areas. If you were if it was a 4-4-2 and your wingers had them and then you had 2 strikers, but no one plays like that. So they have got to improve that. We need goals.
They are getting in good areas, and again, just like little things like there's the amount of, you know, we've seen the last few games where the amount of times where they've got an opportunity, they're faced up with and go out on the outside of them and put one in, or have a shot and see what happens. Just take an opportunity to just fire and see what bit of luck you've got.
If you think of Gray in the early part of the season, he was dropping the shoulder and putting balls into the box. And we remember saying at the time, if we had Dominic, because that was what Dominic Calvert-Lewin's thing was last season, a lot of those 6-yard goals. Should still keep doing it. You say to the Charlton, get yourself in, and you say to the other winger, come round the back, and that's all it is.
It's more frustration. Again, it's more frustration than anything else, isn't it? It's more frustration that they are getting in the right areas, and I'm sure they know what they want to do. It's just not quite coming off. It's something that hopefully, you know,
even with Michalenko and Iwobi, if we're playing them as wing backs, if that's where they're playing right now, they need to be putting balls into the box, into zones, and if they are, then you tell your forward players to get in there. That's when you're trying to break it down. But we do know that, you know, Everton, in terms of breaking teams down, aren't brilliant at it. No. You know, this set of players almost aren't built for that. Just name 3. very creative players who Everton have lost the squad this season, who did well last season in terms of creating chances and scoring goals and setting goals up. So they've gone out the side, and we haven't got the same quality of player at that skill set. And I imagine Frank Lampard will want to change that up anyway. Yeah. Someone like him who used to get 25 goals from midfield or whatever, he will be looking for that. But it is what it is, and these players have put a lot into the last few weeks, Gray and Gordon and a lot of the others. I guess, even though it's frustrating and even though you don't want to say it, maybe it was always going to happen, that they'd just run a little bit out of steam. Yeah,
it is just really frustrating, and obviously never really had any clear-cut chances in that first half, you know, as in, you know, we never really made any as such. You got to half-time, you think, well, like, it's 0-0. Doing all right, come out second half and just keep hammering it home. And you know, second half we were completely dominant, weren't we, on team, you know, on the ball and stuff. And but again, it's you're hammering, but you're really not. You need sort of a little bit of finesse, don't you? You know, you want to get in, but you're not really carving them open. It's not sustained pressure. And for me, that's where I think Frank Lampard maybe could have either released Wobie into that midfield area and gone to 4 at the back, knowing that they really weren't doing much against us. Or maybe brought Dele on into a midfield position, again taking Gordon or Gray off and saying, well, we don't really need to, if we're not going to go out around the outside of them, let's just get hold of the ball and be a little bit cleverer with it, or create opportunities where Dele can get on the end of them, because he's that late running into the box.
Yeah, I mean, he could have done that, couldn't he? He could have gone to 4-3-3 and used the Wobie off one of the forward players and took Gray off. And that, you know what I mean? And gone from a 3 at the back to 4, and that Dele in midfield breaking as well. He could have done that. I think he did leave it a little bit too long, in my opinion. He's, you know, but maybe he was just looking, thinking, well, we're comfortable in the game, and the worst we'll take is a point from this, you know, because of the way the shape is. But I think I would have liked to have seen him maybe change that.
He does tend to make subs late though, doesn't he? Because it's like, and again, this is where the trusting, he doesn't really trust too many players. He's got a set of players in the last few weeks that he thinks can do the job for him, and he's not really looking outside that. And I think that's what led to a performance like this, is that a lot of those players will be absolutely knackered. It's a mental fatigue, it's a physical fatigue, you know, trying to do the job, trying to get us over the line. I think that lack of trust in some of those other players, which has included Dominic Calvert-Lewin, has included Dele, may have just last night sort of got to that point. And I think that's where he's got to be very careful not to flog them too much, that it becomes, well, now we're going to have to take them completely out the side, or they're picking up an injury. So he has tended to leave the subs till a little bit later.
I don't know. I mean, against Leicester, he brought 2 on after the hour mark, didn't he? Dele and Rondon, or Dele and whoever it was, but made 2 subs early. But yeah, maybe again, that is trust though. If you look at him thinking, well, we're all right, we're in the shape and everyone knows the role, then why would I change it and risk upsetting that? But then it's risky.
That's what I mean. He doesn't tend to change things for a positive. He tends to change things if you're getting beat.
It's reactive, yeah. Well, maybe, but again, that does come down to who you trust in your squad and who you think will do the same job. If you've got Anthony Gordon running up and down the field, but he looks tired, and you think, well, if I put someone on over Dele, for argument's sake, over on that right hand side and say just cover that, is he gonna be bursting a gut to get back, or whatever, or whoever it may be? You know, if I put Rondon up front, you know, will that upset us because Richarlison mightn't get up? You've got to look at the players and go, yeah, I know what you're giving me, I know what you're giving me, I know what you're giving me. We had the lovely little turn by Richarlison and the deflection, which Ben Foster made a good save from. If he'd hit a little bit harder, he'd have looped a bit higher and he'd have been out the game. But, you know, we did have moments, didn't we?
Yeah, Gray had a fantastic opportunity. Yeah, you know,
Wobie again heavily involved.
Yeah, you know, he puts it. Arguably, he should be sticking in the corner.
He should be hitting the target, and he's stretching, put it wide, doesn't he? And
we've all came in today. We said the same thing. It felt like the Bournemouth Wood game. It just felt like they sat back and said, "Come on, break us open," and we just couldn't. Maybe we should have brought Rondon on then.
Well, that was it, because it was you can't have a go Watford had like most of their first team out, But what they did have was a freshness, and you'd have had people wanting to, playing in the Premier League, improve myself. I'm going to show, that I can play in this game. And so that energy and what Hodgson is very good at is shape, isn't it? And they'd have had all the instructions and sat in, and like the Bournemouth game, when Everton are tasked with keeping it and carving it open, everything became too slow. Yeah. We were moving it. We had all the ball, but we were moving it so slowly. And when you've got 10 men behind the ball, the only way you move people out is either by a cross into the box or moving the ball quickly. Like someone like, I don't know, it sounds stupid, of course they would, but someone like Man City would have moved the ball really fast there, and you would have been getting dragged here there. And Watford didn't really have to do that from the way we played. And then you're looking and saying, well, if you're the manager, how do you, when you're looking along your substance, how do you change this? You're looking at the personnel saying, well, if I think that 3 mobile front men are more likely to break their lines, why would I then put someone like Solomon Rondon on who's back to goal? And Dominic Calvert-Lewin, I think he said that in his interview, it was like, I left it because I felt like they were more likely than what I had to break it up. Yes, he could have brought Dele on and tried a little bit of a different thing, but if they've worked on a way of playing, they've got something in their mind, and there isn't a like for like on the bench. If you've got a fast winger on the bench, you can go, well, we can take one of these off, they look knackered, and we can put him, and it's as you were. And I think that's probably why he left it so long. I mean, he got forced into, he brought Dom on, didn't he? Because Damari Gray looked knackered, and then he got forced into taking Fabian Delph, he was injured, put Alan on to try to. And I was a little bit disappointed in Alan, because I thought the one thing he can do at time is take the ball forward and try and link up on the edge of the box, and he was safe with what he was doing.
There was a lack of that, wasn't it? Like, have been the core was the same, wasn't he? You wanted him to pick it up and have a little to move forward, but he never really did that either. And as I said, there just seemed a real lack of energy, just or a little bit of lack of belief as well that we could possibly break them down, because as I said, I just think it was mental fatigue, mate. I just think they put so much into the last few weeks. You come to a game, you don't know what you're expecting, and you're hoping, and you will have, no matter what anyone says, you will always have that little bit of complacency when you're playing a team that's been relegated and they've got half of their first team out. In your subconscious, you'd be like, we'll beat these, it'll come. Top sides generally do beat them, and that's why they're the top sides. But for teams like us, and if we'd have stuck one of our chances away, I think we'd have won it comfortably, because they were very good and very disciplined, but they weren't really any threat other than set plays. It shows that they didn't have a single attempt on target. So that means, we defended well. But in the second half, we had a couple of moments, didn't we? Mikalenko should have put his foot through the ball. He tried to side foot it instead of just lashing it, because if you hit it hard, Calvert-Lewin was in there. The Damari Gray one you've already talked about. Michael Keane had a header that he headed straight back into Foster's hands off a corner, where if he could have done what he did against Leeds and aimed it to the top, to the corner, he'd scored. And then we had a great ball in by Anthony Gordon, which their centre-back cuts out before Dom's got a tap in. But realistically, when you look back, Ben Foster, apart from one really good save, is not really, everything else is routine. It's been routine, and that'll be the disappointing thing I think Frank Lampard will look at when he look back at it. It'll be like, we didn't work the keeper hard enough. And it is, the whistle goes, and you're thinking, we've just blown a good chance there. But Leeds got beat, and like you said before, we finished the day better than in a better position than we started it. But you are tinged with that little bit of, we could have had it so much better. Yeah, you mentioned the defence having very little to do. Let's just have a look at Michael Keane's numbers from the game. Was it 67 touches, 84% passing accuracy, 4 interceptions, 7 out of his 12 duels won, and 1 tackle. And him at the back with Mason Holgate. Holgate, I thought had a good game. Didn't really have to do much, did he? And they did everything quite well. Holgate got booked for a good tackle. For winning the ball. Which was mental. And they didn't have too much to do. There was a couple of, not shaky moments, but they got the set pieces and you're a little bit like, oh, here we go. This is going to be their opportunity to get behind us. in a game like that, normally is a set piece, but our set pieces were so poor that it wasn't likely to be us. And once they settled down, and there was not much there. And it was all on the attacking players, as we said. Delph, as you mentioned there, Delph had to go off injured as well. I thought he had a good game as well. Good, sitting in the midfield, just everything going through him. Let's just look at his numbers.
67 touches, 87% passing accuracy. Completed 10 of his 14 long balls, 6 out of 10 duels won, and 2 tackles. So Delph had a good game, sat in there, but he's injured again. And there lies the Fabian Delph thing, seeing this, in a press conference. I can't remember, was it Vinny O'Connor asking Frank Lampard, talked about an extension for Fabian Delph, and you're like, he's done well over the last month, but in the last month he had to sit out the derby, and now he's injured because he played Sunday 90 minutes and he's played last night, and now he's injured again, and because there's only 10 days left of the season, there's a chance he might not play again this season. He may well do, but just right now he come off injured. We don't know the extent of that injury, and if it's any kind of muscle injury, then that throws a doubt over whether he'll be fit.
Then that again, you look at that and think, do you think maybe the manager then should have looked at before the game and gone, we'll put Alan, we've got a fresh Alan, we'll put Alan in the team? Or?
I can't sit here and bemoan that, because...
No, I just mean by the injury record, because we look at Yerry Mina, and you wouldn't play Yerry Mina 2 games in a row, I'd imagine. So it's...
But he done that, didn't he? They both played against Leicester, and then he left a pair of them out for Liverpool.
That's what
because
I mean.
They were thingy. But obviously Fabian Delph felt fine yesterday. I'm not going to sit here and go, the manager got that wrong, because it's easy in hindsight, but I said before the game, Michael Keane would be the only change I'd make. Maybe what
we don't have the information.
Maybe what he could have done, is to take Fabian Delph off after the hour, because they weren't doing anything in Alan, and to preserve him. But the manager knows, and they, like you said, they've got all the figures in front of them. But Everton, what's proven is Everton need to go and get themselves a midfielder who can play that role, is quick, big and strong, and can get around the pitch. And if they do that, then they'll be a better side for it straight off.
Let's have a look at the stats of the game, because there's not much else to talk about. There you go. Watford had 6 shots, but 0 on target. We had 16-5 on target. No big chances, which is disappointing. We just won the possession.
Well, we had Everton's XG was 0.82, and I think Watford's was 0.22. So Everton had a higher XG, but it was, like we said before, there was nothing in. There was no. It's just proved there was no big chances, and when we got those opportunities. Damari Gray's got to stick that one on target. There are moments in the game, Iwobi does really well, gives him it back, and if he just hits the target there, make the keeper make a save, or the whole corner was gaping. I know. And it is those little moments, but we play Sunday at 4:30. Leeds are playing before that, and Burnley. If Brighton were to go to Ellen Road and they're in good form and win, then Everton would only need a point because of the goal difference. And I think I could be confident in saying I don't think Everton would lose like 9-0 and 10-0 in the last 2 games. So, Everton would know at 4:30 what they need to do. And it might be a point, it might be win the game, and it's done. And Burnley go to Spurs, of course, at 2, so that's a real tough game as well. So it's in Everton's hands. I think everybody, I understand the frustration. I imagine the 3,000 Evertonians who were in the away end will have been frustrated watching that. They were singing and trying to get the team going again, and they've been fantastic. And I imagine on Sunday there'll be a big welcome for the team bus, and everyone will get it going again, and Goodison will be electric. But we started, I think we do have to remember that we started that Chelsea game 11 days ago, 5 points adrift in the relegation zone, and here we are now with 2 home games to come, 2 points clear, and we've still got a game in hand.
But we need 4 points from our 3 games. That would be enough to keep us up. So let's go and get it. Let's get to the 40-point mark. I think that's what our target should be for the 3 games, and hopefully we can do it. Hopefully we can get up, and the sooner the better. It'd be amazing if it was on Sunday. It'd be absolutely amazing if it was Sunday. But let's just get over the line now. There you go. Massively frustrating night, but on
Well,
to
clean sheet.
Clean sheet. And a
Clean
point.
sheet. 1 defeat in 6.
Yeah.
And that looked like that wasn't capable a few weeks ago of Everton of doing that. 4 points away from home.
Yeah.
Improved our away record in the last couple of games.
Finished the season unbeaten.
I'm looking for massive positives here of what was a disappointing game, but I thought to look at it.
There you go. We'll be carrying this on over on Patreon. We are live, so if you want to join us on Patreon, the link is in the description and it'll be on the screen. Give this video a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you later.